Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to episode number 22 of the Ball Talk Boyos podcast. I'm joined, as per usual, by my bearded friend, Joey Boreski. Joey, how you doing today?
You know what, Topher? I'm doing fantastic, and do you know why I'm doing fantastic?
What's that?
Because my Ohio State Buckeyes, my beloved Ohio State Buckeyes, are national champions.
I guess we'll jump straight to that. It's Wednesday, January 22nd, 9:50 p.m. Eastern. Joey, how we feeling 2 days post Natty Champs?
We are feeling fantastic. I mean, let me just take everyone into the mind of a sports fan like myself, right? You know, there's people who like my friend Topher here, who pick and choose certain sports teams from cities and stuff. But for me, I'm an Ohio sports fan, right? Ohio State and all Cleveland teams. And when you root for a city like Cleveland or root for teams in a state like Ohio, you're not going to see success very often there. I mean, the last time one of my teams won a championship was the Cleveland Cavaliers with LeBron James when I was beginning of high school, for I think my freshman year. Last time my Ohio State Buckeyes won a national championship, I was in 8th grade, getting bandwagon allegations out the wazoo, even though my backpack had an Ohio State logo on it, my water bottle had an Ohio State logo on it, and my lunchbox had an Ohio State logo on it, and half my wardrobe had an Ohio State logo on it as well.
So you were just dick riding.
But you know what, Topher? When you're a diehard for a team, especially a team that people hate, like Ohio State, hate them because they're so good, that's just part of the territory. And I mean, listen, I've gotten called a bandwagon multiple times since Ohio State won this championship. I had a kid from my high school who I ran with. I reposted like Ohio State national championship thing. Within 2 minutes, he swiped up and said bandwagon. 2 minutes.
That was pretty great. You did send me that picture, and I did think that was pretty crazy.
And you know, we had to talk about it. He's like, "You're not an alumni from there." I'm like, "Both my parents are, and I went to a small school, so I was a big team." He's like, "Oh, my bad." And then today in a Twitter group chat, some dude says like, "Oh, you're an Ohio State football fan. You're probably a Duke basketball fan." I'm like, "Well, I know a Duke basketball fan." Yeah, some dude in that Twitter group chat.
I didn't even see that one.
We're in a Twitter group chat for Bears fans. Neither of us are Bears fans.
Neither of us are Bears fans.
We just want to see our friends implode on a weekly basis during the NFL season. But some guy was like, "Oh, you're an Ohio State football fan? What do you root for Duke in basketball season 2?" I don't root for Duke in basketball, of course.
I do.
I'm an Ohio State fan still. This guy roots for Duke in basketball. We have a friend in there who roots for North Carolina in basketball only. Michigan in football only. Shout out Craig. But like, you know, getting those bandwagon allegations, that just comes with the territory. And just the feeling of seeing your team win that title, especially the team, like everyone has that one team that's just above all the others, right? Like for you, it's obviously the Denver Broncos. That's your favorite team in the whole world. Not the Boston Red Sox. Not the Boston Red Sox. It's the Boston Red Sox for you. For me, it's Ohio State football. We've talked about this before. So just to see my team, especially with all the hate and trash talking that's come our way from the college football world, especially a certain fan base over the past few years, it's just great to win one and shut them up as much as they can be shut up, because the people are still yapping their mouths a little bit. But yeah, man, it feels great that Ohio State is once again on top of the college football world.
Did you celebrate in any way Monday night afterwards, or did you just, take it all in?
You know, Topher, not much to smile about in my life recently. So you know what I did? I cracked a smile. I cracked a smile, Topher. And you know what? I'm like, you know what? Maybe 2025 will be my year. Maybe I do have it. Maybe I have a shot this year. So that's where we went with it.
Before we started recording, we were talking about how I was texting you this morning at a awfully early time for me. I'm pretty sure I got a Snapchat from you at like 2 a.m. on Tuesday morning. I was like, "Oh, Joe's just up celebrating by himself, I guess." It's like,
no, my sleep schedule was a little out of whack. I was talking about as well about how I was very sick for like a week and a half, 2 weeks there, and that completely threw off my sleep schedule. I've gotten it back a little bit, so now I can fall asleep around like 2 something. But for most of the week, for like last week or like this past weekend, I couldn't fall asleep till like 6 a.m. because I was sick, so I'd nap through the day, and then So I'm getting it back under control. We're trying to get more. We're trying to get less nocturnal here. We're trying to be more. We're trying to see more daylight.
All right, let's teleport back to early December. Ohio State has just lost to Michigan. We'll get into that. We'll talk about them in a minute. But college football playoff brackets released. Ohio State's in. They're hosting Tennessee to start. At that point in time, I'm not asking Joey, the Ohio State fan. I'm asking Joey, just the football mind that I know you are. Did you actually think Ohio State had a chance at making a run at the national championship?
Absolutely. I absolutely thought we had a chance. I mean, we were the most talented team in the nation, and people saw that over the course of the playoffs. We didn't see that over the course of the regular season, clearly did not see that, but we saw some flashes, and I knew if we could get it together, that there'd be a shot, we'd have a chance, and we got together. Obviously, I mean, I predicted, we did our bracket together live here, and I predicted Ohio State to win. That was partially biased, of course. I was like, I don't know, maybe, but they absolutely had a shot in my mind, and They played a lot better than I think myself or anyone else expected. I'll say that for sure.
Yeah, a lot more not very close games that ultimately led them to where they eventually wound up getting. Are you glad it's still going to be Ryan Day as the head coach now, or would you rather have? No, I'm not gonna ask that. Are you okay with Ryan Day moving forward still?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, after that Michigan loss, that's the lowest I ever was on him.
Sure.
Before that, I was definitely a Ryan Day defender, and I went out of my way to say Ryan Day's was not that bad. After that, it was tough to have much hope. But I mean, people have to remember Jim Harbaugh started like 0-6, 0-7 or something crazy like that, 0-5.
That first
versus
year.
Ohio State in his career. He lost his first like 5, 6, 7 games against Ohio State, and then they took it over and he won the national championship. I just think it took some time for Ryan Day. I mean, he clearly should have won this year, but I think Ryan Day is the right man to lead us forward. I mean, he has the second highest winning percentage in college football history for coaches who have coached like 50 plus games or something.
Oh wow, that makes sense.
I mean, he's a national championship winner at this point.
If they only lose to Michigan every year, like
they lose Michigan and maybe one other game, playoff game. Maybe half their team opts out for a bowl game they don't care about.
Yeah,
but it's not. It's hard to. Obviously, we haven't beat Michigan, but like it's hard to kind of build a case against him when the only thing is Michigan, which I know that's the kind of the only thing that matters for a lot of us Ohio State fans, but still.
Well, sure, the only thing that matters to Michigan fans at this point. But hopefully, at least from my perspective, is hopefully this changes. Like he changes the approach to it, and that this is like, all right, this gets it off his back. He's won the national championship. Now he can just go beat Michigan because they can. They're just like they play Michigan football when they should be playing Ohio State football against Michigan, and they lose because of it.
Absolutely.
What do you think of all of the Michigan fans kind of parading around again after Ohio State has gone on their run?
I mean, they're like, oh, we're one of the best teams in the nation clearly at this point. Oh, you won, but you couldn't beat us. And one of our legendary coaches at Ohio State said, it doesn't matter if you win the national championship if you don't beat Michigan, back in like the 60s or 70s or something. But like, they're really trying to cope very, very hard right now because they can't handle the fact that Ohio State won it all. And, I mean, some of our friends who are Chicago Bears fans have seen just how toxic the Detroit Lions fan base is. over the past few weeks. Who would have thought that's the same people Michigan fans are? But now they're looking at it from the other side of the coin. Oh my gosh, no way. Michigan fans are cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Michigan, maybe instead of worrying about Ohio State, winning the national championship. This is coming from someone who I root for Michigan. Like I'm invested in their success to an extent, but like the same argument we had with Alabama. Don't lose to bad teams. Like, don't lose. They had a lot of ranks. Like, 3 of their, or what's this?
They had 4 or 5 losses to ranked teams.
4 to ranked teams, and yeah, it was Texas, but don't lose to Washington. Don't lose to Illinois. Well, Oregon and Indiana. All 3 of those teams, Ohio State beat. Over the course of this cycle, they just I don't know. It is a little silly to see because it's like just you weren't good enough to get there. They were, and they proved it. So like, I don't know. It's all a mess. We'll have more time to talk about the Detroit Lions stuff. I'd like to save the head coaching talk until after Super Bowl and stuff, or maybe we find another better slot to talk about it, because I'd like to have some other people on to talk about their views on it as to get what they thought. Obviously, we have lots of friends that are Bears fans that have been relatively excited over the last 48 hours. My dad, shout out to my dad. I know you're watching. I always appreciate it, but he's not as optimistic about Ben Johnson. Maybe we'll have to have the Data Davis debut on here to have him give his thoughts, because he's the best. But we're headed into NFC and AFC championship weekend, Joe. What do we? Which game should we start with? Talking about.
Let's start with the
NFC.
Less polarizing game. Let's start with the NFC. Yeah.
NFC. I unfortunately won't be able to watch any of this game because it's over the entire course that I'm working. But I'm very excited to follow along with this game on my phone while I'm at Target. I think is the moral of the story for this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a really good game. I think it's a game in which, I mean, obviously the Commanders are a team that nobody really expected to be here at this point in the season.
Yeah.
Heck, I mean, the only game I think I got wrong in the entire playoffs that we predicted last episode was the Commanders in the first round. I thought
for the wild card, yeah.
I think that's the only team I got wrong for picking them to win. But the Commanders have clearly looked very, very good, and I think as long as Jaden Daniels is playing his best football, they could beat anybody. Yeah. And I think that the Eagles are definitely a team that they can beat. Meanwhile, the Eagles are just a fantastic football team, though. So it's really going to be seen.
I mean, the whole moral of the playoffs is just who's going to make the most mistakes. Like, we're seeing teams that uncharacteristically, maybe not uncharacteristically, but just turn the ball over too much, and then the other team doesn't, and the team that doesn't have any turnovers wins. I mean, it feels like every game is like, oh, yeah, this team had 3 turnovers.
Yep.
The other team had 0, and they win the 1-score game. Like, I mean, it's what we're seeing the entire time. As for, like, the Commanders, they're well coached. Jaden Daniels is, I don't know, I'm sure you agree, but has far, far exceeded expectations. Like, I mean, he's I think people expected it to get good eventually, but like, I expected it to be rocky this year. No?
Absolutely. I mean, there was some concerns about him in the pre-draft process and stuff, especially because like the Hard Knocks stuff, people weren't a huge fan of him. But I mean, that kid's a hooper, man. He can flat out ball.
He's balling.
he's balled everywhere he's gone, and he's shown that he's going to be able to ball in the NFL for hopefully a very long time.
He's already made a legitimate case that he's the best quarterback in the NFC.
I mean, that's not saying anything
It's
ridiculous.
Not saying anything ridiculous, but, like, I mean, he's a rookie.
Yeah.
And, like, I mean, I think people have forgotten the factor of, like, I mean, Dan Quinn was a successful head coach during his time with the Atlanta Falcons. He led them to a Super Bowl there. He had a great defense with the Dallas Cowboys. He brought in Cliff Kingsbury, who's been a magician for Jaden Daniels and has helped that team so much. But we'll. I mean, I'm surprised they beat the Lions. I mean, they played mistake-free football and they capitalized. They just beat up that defense that was apparently more banged up than we'd thought.
Yeah.
What do you think when you look at the Eagles side of things?
I think the Eagles just play good fundamental football. I mean, obviously, I think their biggest weakness, in my opinion, that could like hold them back from like being like an elite team, is Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts inconsistencies. I just don't think Jalen Hurts as a quarterback has enough of it to really.
He's so weird. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like we've seen it though. Like it's not something we've like seen. It's just like they just win. They win without him throwing for 200 yards, and maybe he doesn't need to be very efficient. But I mean, they win.
Yeah.
Like I mean, that's what matters most in the end. But yeah, this past week he had 128 passing yards. The week before, 131. But I mean, when you have the offensive line that they have and the defensive line that they have, and Saquon Barkley running like a madman all over the place. I mean, he honestly might be one of my top 5 favorite athletes currently.
Yeah, he's a very, very fun player to watch and to follow.
I mean, it's just like every game. It's like, all right, when's he going to pop off a 40-plus yard run? Like, it's going to happen at some point. It's just a matter of, like, when do you let it happen? I mean, he had 2 60-plus yard rushing touchdowns. And it's like, I don't know about, like, I've obviously followed football more intensely this year than I had, like, previously. But, like, it just feels like the energy like, surrounding him is, like, different. He's got aura now that he's left. Like, his aura went up now that he's no longer with the Giants.
Well, he's got a competent organization around him now, and for him, that's all he really needed is help. He just needed help, because we've talked about it before. Running back's like a specialty position. You can't win. Your team can't win solely with a running back.
Yeah.
But a running back will take your team to the next level if you're already a good football team. And that's what we're seeing right now is the Eagles we're a good football team. They add Saquon Barkley, and now they're a great football team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're one win away from returning to the Super Bowl for the second time in, is it 3 years? They went 2 years ago?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with them. I want to talk about the losers of the NFC division games a little bit, because obviously now we've seen the Lions lost both their offensive and defensive coordinators as they've left for head coaching jobs, and that's obviously stirred up a good bit of discussion within their fan base and a little bit of unnecessary outrage, in my opinion. But where do the Detroit Lions go from here? Like what? How do they replicate? They probably can't replicate the success of this regular season, but how do they make sure they're better next postseason?
Well, first off, I think they also lost like their linebackers coach to become the new defensive coordinator in New England.
Line coach,
defensive line coach,
something like that.
But anyways, I mean, what the Detroit Lions had was a special group of people that have built something special in that building, and whenever you are super successful, oftentimes we see this with teams that just win the Super Bowl, you're going to lose a lot of those pieces because everyone wants a little piece of that success, right? And from there, it's hard to kind of maintain the same level of success because you're losing some key pieces there.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to losing both your coordinators on a team in which your head coach isn't like a scheme guru or anything like that, who he's not like carrying one side of the ball or another, it's going to be really tough to replace both of those guys. I mean, the Lions clearly have a lot of talent. They're going to be an attractive spot for coordinators to go to, or they're going to be able to promote people from within who are successful.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be hard to maintain that 15-2 record, that number one seed, just with all that they've already lost. And I'm sure they're going to lose guys in this offseason of free agency and such because teams are going to be throwing money bags at some of their players. So it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I didn't really look. Schefter always does a good job about tweeting like the key free agents they have, and I didn't look at that too in depth in terms of what they're losing. But I mean, yeah, replacing two coordinators that were deemed head coaching worthy throughout the industry is definitely going to be difficult to replace. But it also feels like they had what felt like a fluky number of defensive injuries. To the point where
absolutely.
It's like their entire defense is hurt. Like what are like they've been patching it together, and it worked at times. But I mean, it was held together by not even duct tape, Scotch tape, and gum by the very end. That it's like, I mean, I don't know. It's just gonna have to be reloading and then seeing if they have it in the tank next year. See if Jared Goff can play a little bit better. Because obviously on offense, I don't think they lose a bunch, especially from like a skill position wise. I mean, they just signed.
I don't think so.
Monty to an extension. Obviously, Jameer. I think Jared's still there. So, it's kind of just reload and see if they have it next year. The Los Angeles Rams. Unfortunately lost. I think they would have been any of these NFC teams I would have liked to have seen make a run at the Super Bowl and potentially win it. Like, to be completely honest. I can't say the same about the AFC, and we'll get to that in a minute. But Rams, what do you think their outlook is for this offseason to get back to a place of prominence and success?
I mean, for the Rams, this kind of felt like the last ride with this core of guys. I mean, there's a lot of speculation that Cooper Kupp's not going to be back, and obviously he hasn't looked quite like himself this season.
Especially down the stretch.
Down the stretch, especially. I mean, at the beginning of the season he looked fantastic, but down the stretch here, it's just kind of been like, I mean, Stafford's obviously getting up there, and we're not sure what he's going to do. It's just tough with this group of guys to really be able to envision them all staying together and making another run, and also being a good enough team next year with the same group to be able to make a run. I mean, I think that they have to make improvements if they're gonna.
Yeah, they have to be better next year to do it again.
I think the Niners had a fluky down year here. I think the Niners will be back to being good next year. I think the Cardinals will take another step forward next year. I think that the Seahawks...
The division could get better next year.
Like, the division was a bunch of, like, average teams this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think next year it could be all teams above average. And if the Rams are going to make the playoffs, they're going to have to be... I think they have to take a significant step forward if they're going to be here.
Yeah.
And especially they want to make a run, but yeah.
Yeah, especially with the outlook on many other teams across the NFC that will be competing for wild card spots. I mean, it seems like the entire NFC North could be good next year. NFC South will find out. I'm obviously very high on the Carolina Panthers heading into next year. Yep. And the NFC East, once again, will probably have 3 average to above average teams. Because I don't expect the Dallas Cowboys to be. I think they'll be better next year when Stack's back.
Right.
But yeah, it does kind of feel like the last run and the last potential stretch that we see out of Matt Stafford. And we've been kicking around a conversation in a group chat of ours the last few days, and we'll have a much more in-depth conversation about it as me and one of our friends are able to like research a little bit more, and see what we can dig up. But like Matthew Stafford might just be the most underappreciated quarterback of our lifetimes. Like, I don't think you didn't find that ridiculous to say, correct?
No, I don't find that ridiculous to say at all. I agree that he's very, very underrated and underappreciated.
Yeah, I mean, he's never been a top 5 quarterback probably in the NFL, but he's never been a top 3 quarterback in the NFL.
I can agree more with that, yeah.
But he's probably been somewhere between 3 and 10 throughout a large majority of his career.
Yeah, I'd go a step further and say he's been like between like 3 and 7 for the majority of his career.
I was going to say that, but I wasn't sure if that's just recency bias and just now how I'm remembering it. But like, I mean, he's top 10 in passing yards and passing touchdowns. And like, if you look at it, it's in significantly less games than everybody else in the top 15. Like, I mean, we're going to have some conversations coming up about some guys that could potentially be getting into the Hall of Fame. And I think we could see Matt Stafford eventually make a run at it. It's just unfortunately he only has 2 Pro Bowls. Like, obviously, like there's no requirement for you have to have made 5 Pro Bowls, but like that could be a mark against him. So
I think as we keep getting further and further into the future here, we'll see less and less emphasis on the Pro Bowls, honestly, because the Pro Bowls does not matter anymore. I mean, every time someone brings up the Pro Bowl argument, I just think of the fact that Tyler Huntley has a Pro Bowl.
Yeah,
and was a Pro Bowl quarterback that 1 year. Like, once they named Tyler Huntley a Pro Bowler, that should have just thrown the Pro Bowl thing out the window forever.
It is.
But it's not going to be yet, but yeah.
It is very ridiculous. And who knows? Maybe voters don't actually hold it in as much prominence as we may look at it. But still, the fact that he had 2 Pro Bowls over his 16-year career is a little silly at this point. But back to Eagles Commanders. What's your prediction for this game, and what are some things you expect?
I mean, I think the Eagles are just a more playoff-tested team. Obviously, they made a Super Bowl run recently, like to the Super Bowl, not win the Super Bowl, but they have that playoff experience. A lot of those guys have been there for a while now. This group has a strong veteran core. I think that experience is just going to be enough to take the Eagles over the top and to put them into the Super Bowl yet again. I just think that with the Commanders, because it's like that first big run that they're making, that first time together as a team, at some point in the playoffs, they're going to have a little trip up. And I think this is the point where they're just going to trip up finally. Jay Daniels is a rookie quarterback still. I just find it tough to see. I have a tough time seeing him making it to the Super Bowl this year, being as large of a part of the team as he is. And so I think it's going to be the Eagles making it there. I think Saquon's going to run circles around Commanders, even though the Commanders do have a good defense, obviously. But like, I think it's going to be the Eagles, and I think the Eagles are going to coast into the Super Bowl. Honestly, I think that the Commanders, this is the week they finally come back down to earth a little bit.
I don't know if they coast. I agree that they win, but I do agree that we see the Commanders crack a little bit at some point, and we see how ready Jaden Daniels really is for the big moment. I mean, he's obviously, I'm not questioning his ability to perform in that situation currently, and what he does on Sunday won't change that. I'm not questioning that yet, because it's his first postseason. Like, if he makes it a habit, like, of performing or not performing, then we can question it. But like, we'll see. But yeah, I agree. I think the Eagles win, and I think we see a Saquon Barkley like performance out of this one. That I think we should. I was thinking about it today. It's a shame we will never see a Super Bowl that has snow in it. Like it just won't. It won't happen because that Rams. I love the snow. I just gotta say that, and I love it for watching football games. And
Yeah.
I know I'm not the only person. It's just aesthetically. The one thing that I don't like about my snow, is that I can't wear my baseball hats, my actual hats around in the snow. Like I thought about putting one on today, but it just doesn't feel right yet. It's not warm enough out yet for it.
There's no one stopping you from doing that. I've been wearing my Tenuda's hat all week still.
I will. I've been wearing a lot of just like winter hats around. I've been liking that too. But I'll jump back to my baseball hats eventually. But one con about the snow, I love the snow. Yeah, don't worry guys, they'll come back. I'll have to get some more new ones. Kind of worn all the other ones a good bit. AFC Championship game, Chiefs and the Bills. I had been saying for a lot, like heading into the divisional round, that if it was going to be Chiefs Ravens, I would have had a difficult time getting myself amped up for that. Like, would you agree? Like, I'll still watch and I'll still be like excited about that game, but I will be much more invested in watching Bills Chiefs than I will be watching if it were Chiefs Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, if it was Chiefs Ravens, I don't like either of those teams. I mean, Ravens, I'm a Browns fan, so it's obvious why I should hate them. And the Chiefs, I mean, everyone hates the Chiefs. So it would have been tough. It's always great when you're watching a sport. Hate watching is fantastic. Hate watching is something that a lot of people, that's what draws people to sports a lot of times, is hate watching teams.
Sure.
And so having a team that's as rootable as the Buffalo Bills are, from a small market, with a team with like a quarterback that Josh Allen that everyone likes to root for, going against a team everyone hates in the Chiefs, that's going to be a fantastic hate watch, and I'm excited to do it.
Back again. I hope. My computer is on its way out, so we might speed this up. But Chiefs Bills. What are you expecting from this game?
I'm expecting a lot of the same old from both these teams. I mean, the Chiefs defense has been fantastic all year. Mahomes in the playoffs is Mahomes in the playoffs. So I'm expecting them to play very good football. And I'm expecting, from the Bills side, Josh Allen to just ball out. I'm expecting him to put the city of Buffalo on his back and just go for it, leave it all out there on the field. And honestly, this one could go either way. My head is telling me one thing, my heart's telling me the other. But, the best thing about sports is sometimes you just shouldn't listen to your head. You should just listen to your heart. So I think the Buffalo Bills are going to be heading to the Super Bowl this year.
I think it's going to happen this time. I don't know why. I have, like you said, nothing other than just a plain old gut feeling. But I think the Bills are going to do it. I think we see a superhuman like performance out of Josh Allen. And he winds up leading them on a game winning drive to end it all. And that it's just like the culminating event of his career to this point. And we just, like you said, him, the city of Buffalo on his back and take them to a Super Bowl. Not to disrespect the Chiefs. They're not as fraudulent as I thought they were. I do still think they won a fluky number of one-score games, but
I agree.
They're a good team. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes, yada yada yada, blah 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 blah. But very good. I think the Bills are better, and I think right now Josh Allen is better than Patrick Mahomes. At this very moment in time. and I think they finally get over the hump and they make it to the Super Bowl, or at least I really hope so, because I don't know if I can go through another, at least this year. It'll happen again at some point, just because it's whatever. But I don't know if this year I can go through another year of Super Bowl coverage of Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, and watching another broadcast of the Super Bowl where all they talk about is the Kansas City. I don't know if I can do it again.
Nope. Can't do
I'm
it.
running. I'm running. It will be a hate watch if they make it to the Super Bowl. But we don't have to talk about the Texans because we talked about a lot about the Texans when we were previewing the wild card. They'll figure it out. Who really cares? The Texans. With the Baltimore Ravens, they lost. Where do they go from here?
I don't know. I just think, contrary to what a lot of people think, we're like, oh, Lamar can't win the
I didn't think it
playoffs.
at this
Oh,
time.
this is the problem. That's the problem. I just think they've just had a tough run of it. I mean, I just think that the AFC has been so good over the course of Lamar Jackson's career. I mean, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, you got Josh Allen now. I just think that there's so much elite quarterback play on that side that some people are going to get burned every single year. And it just so happened that Lamar Jackson has been the one getting burned the past few years. I think he's fine. I think the Ravens aren't doing things wrong. I just think that just unlucky, to be honest.
I've been as critical of him as any of the people in our friend group have talked about him in terms of his ability to perform when the light is brightest. How does he respond? I didn't feel like he lost them the game. He wasn't great. He wasn't superhuman, but I didn't think he was horrible. He had some bad plays and he made some bad decisions, but he eventually wound up somewhere in the middle, and I don't think he lost them the game. I also don't think Mark Andrews lost them the game. As like I think it was too much of it was too much of everything. The Bills, Connor has pointed out, the Bills almost seemed like they were trying to lose the game down the stretch there, where it was just way too conservative. He's also going way too far, and I've told him this. He's going way too. He's like, if it's 4th down and you're within 5 yards, you freaking go for it no matter what. And I'm like, all right, like he's getting too far one way. But like the Bills did give them the opportunity to go and win, but they didn't take it, and they didn't execute well enough at the end of the day. But do you feel like Harbaugh's seat's now a little warm?
I don't know if it's necessarily warm. I just think that
I think
now
it's getting toasty.
there's going to be chatter. There's going to be chatter going into next year about like, oh, Harbaugh, if he
I
doesn't
think it's heating up.
get it done this year.
I think it is.
I think that there's a little bit of smoke coming in under that chair. Yeah. It's getting a little toasty, but it's not a hot seat yet. I think that I have a tough time seeing him get fired next year. But I think that now we're at the point where it's in the realm of possibility. I think that this year there was no shot of him getting fired.
No.
But I think next year it's not.
It's not.
There's a scenario in which he doesn't get fired that's realistic.
I mean, they had a guy who's potentially about to win an MVP for the 3rd time in the last however many years. They had what's probably like a top 5 running back season in the last 10 years. Like it's not as good as his other one, but it's somewhere in 1,900 rushing yards. Like that's an absurd number.
It gets overshadowed. People forget that just because Saquon.
It gets overshadowed because Saquon went over 2,000 in 16 games, but like it's somewhere in that realm. They had a good enough defense. Like they had a pretty high passing off. Like they were a great team, and they couldn't get it done again. Like it's got it. Like I'm saying, it's just getting a little. Like he thinks he sat down. He thinks he sat down on something like how.
Yeah, I agree with
But I mean, the same can probably be said for Tomlin. Like I think the chatter's starting to happen. I think the chatter's starting. He's probably a little behind. Like I think Harbaugh is more likely than Tomlin, but I think the conversation will start. Like you're hearing it.
Yeah, I think that also though that's I have a harder time seeing the Steelers organization fire Tomlin.
Yes.
But I agree that there is chatter from people.
It wouldn't be
about
firing,
Tomlin.
but maybe it's just like we're not renewing your contract. Maybe it winds up being that.
I
Like
guess. I think Tomlin.
We're not going to do him the disrespect to fire, or maybe he just retires, like, and then comes back a few years later with somebody else if he wants to.
I think Tomlin is a year behind
I
maybe
agree.
Harbaugh in that regard. I think he has another. I don't think after next year is really unless they like win 4 games or something. I don't see. If they're their usual 9-8 selves, I think that the Steelers bring Tomlin back. I don't see them firing him at all. But if they like, realistically, they're not. He's there again.
Like, I think we're getting close to. I think it's just he's a year behind. His seat's not warm, but we're closer to the conversation starting to happen. I think Harbaugh just seems warm.
Yeah.
So you think? I think we both have Eagles Bills. Then are you coming into the playoffs? If you would have heard Eagles Bills, would you feel happy? You wouldn't have felt surprised, obviously, but do you feel happy with the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I'm good with that, honestly. I mean, I don't like the Eagles very much, but there's a lot of worse teams that could be besides the Eagles. I guess maybe in the NFC, they're probably the team I was rooting against the most.
Okay.
But I mean, the Eagles not happy about that really. But when I'm hearing from the AFC any name but the Chiefs, especially if that name's not the Ravens, I'm happy.
I think Ravens, like you said, I could have got myself more amped up for if they made the Super Bowl. But yeah, if it's Chiefs Eagles again, like I have to watch this again.
Yeah.
Because like I just feel like if it's the Chiefs, I know how it's going to end. Like
if the Chiefs three-peat, man,
it's just like, oh my gosh. I didn't like the Patriots or Tom Brady when they were going through their cycle of the dynasty. Like,
of course
I didn't
not.
like that. I think I dislike this team.
I would 100% dislike this more because I feel like somehow Mahomes, Kelsey, like that's more unlikable.
Yeah.
Because of the way the media treats them, I think.
I have no problem with Kelsey. Like the him.
I don't have any problem with Kelsey either. I think that people hate him though because of the way the media treats him, and because of the fact that he's dating Taylor Swift, so the media gives him special attention. I think people are just sick and tired of commentators saying, "Oh, Patrick Mahomes is that's a Patrick Mahomes type of player." There, people are sick of seeing like Travis Kelce have his own cereal. People are sick of seeing Travis Kelce here, Travis Kelce that. I know you love that Kelce mix, man, but like people are sick of that, and I think that that's why the Chiefs are so hateable right now. On top of the fact that they're good, but like people just don't want to see the Chiefs anymore, man.
Yeah, I would agree. So yeah, we'll see what happens Sunday. I think I won't be able to watch any NFC game, but the AFC I get off at 6, so I think I'm gonna be able to watch most of the AFC game. So
I'll have to find a way. My YouTube TV stopped working here because I haven't taken my stick that I plug in. I haven't taken that home in a while, so my 3 months of like vacation time is up until I take it home again.
Maybe I'll have to drive home before.
Maybe.
We're back. Any other thoughts on NFL recently? Not much has happened.
No, not much happened. I mean, as we get towards the off season here, I have some ideas for some stuff we can do podcast / YouTube wise. Also, speaking of that, tomorrow will be the official return to the TikTok and YouTube Shorts. So, TikTok's not banned. I really don't have an excuse not to post.
I deleted
And
it.
I was
don't think I
thinking,
can reinstall it again.
you can't do anything with TikTok then,
so
yeah.
I can't do anything.
Convenient.
Yeah.
So, I have a lot of ideas. Today, I was doing a lot of brainstorming about my future, and obviously, Ball Talk Boyos took up a lot of that time, and it kind of re-energized me with this. And I have some ideas for not only YouTube Shorts, TikToks, but like some long form, like genuine YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for those who are unaware, in our fantasy football league, I came in last this year, and so for our punishment, I have to do the IHOP 24-hour challenge. You eat a pancake, you take an hour off, basically.
We're gonna have to figure out
So I'm gonna be there for like.
come and do that.
Well, yeah. So I have to figure out a day to do that, but that will be a whole YouTube spectacle.
I did promise to sit with you there the entire time.
Yeah, that'll make the video much more entertaining because nobody wants to see me sitting there blabbing to myself.
Yeah, I did promise you I would sit there with you the entire time.
Well, you'll only be like 8 hours. It could be worse. It could be a lot of other people.
It just gives me
who can't eat.
It just gives me 8 more hours I get to hang out with you. So I'll take that. I'll take that anyway. Come on, you knew that. We talked about this before. I don't care about the views. I do this just so I can talk to you for an hour a week. So.
Oh, I wish I could say the same. I'm in this for the money and the numbers, man.
Dang,
I'm just kidding.
Lost a lot of money.
I'm just kidding.
That's what we're in it for.
No, but if the worst thing that comes to this is that we talk sports for an hour or two a week. Ooh.
So, and we get to listen back to it in years and think, damn, we were idiots then. Oh well.
I won't think that.
I probably will. I'm thinking about you. Don't worry.
I think that about myself in the past all the time, but that's because of me being actually an idiot. Now I'm the smartest person out there, so I'm chilling.
What's been going on in college sports?
Well, obviously, besides, of course, my Buckeyes winning the national championship, college basketball season is heating up. It's late January now, right? And that means we're less than 2 months away from the greatest time of year, March Madness. What'd you say?
Cooper Flag, baby. 42?
Yeah, Cooper Flag.
42 points. ACC freshman record, baby.
Topher, as a big-time sports fan yourself, have you talked about who your favorite college basketball team is on here?
ASU Sun Devils. Forks up, baby.
All right, who's it really?
The Duke. It's always. It's like always been that way. Like, it's not like a recent thing.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. That's fair. I mean,
I've been through a fair amount of. I don't care a ton, but I followed along as they lost a lot for a lot of the lifetime. So, or at least the portion of my lifetime that I was
all there.
What's the conscious for? So like I don't remember them against Butler. Like I don't remember that, but I remember them against Wisconsin. Like I remember that run, and I remember a lot of the other like runs and teams that made runs into the NCAA tournament. Like I don't claim to be the biggest fan in the world, but like I pick them in that bracket every year, and like I get the score notifications every time they play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Duke
bandwagon.
Duke Blue Devils. Yes, sir. Always and forever.
But anyways, yeah, I mean, Cooper Flag, he's the favorite to win the Wooden right now.
Is he actually?
He's played. He is.
I
He's
wasn't sure.
played fantastic.
Yeah.
I think Duke has the talent this year where if they went on a run and won it all, I wouldn't be surprised.
So are they the number 2 team in the 2 or 3?
Something like that. I think that they aren't the best team in the nation. The best team in the nation, in my opinion, is clearly Auburn. Auburn looks like they are a team of destiny this year, especially when Shania Broom's fully healthy again. But man, yeah, Duke's been good. SEC, for all the talk SEC football gets about them running college football, they run college basketball this year, man. I think they have 9 teams in the top 25 currently, and of their, I think, 16 teams total, that sounds right, 16, 14 or 16, 16. I think they're projected to have like 13 teams in the field right now. Which, I mean, it's going to come down to probably 11, but that's still an absurd number of teams in the tournament. And what, 5 teams don't make it from there?
Mm-hmm.
That's it? Wow. But yeah, SEC is fantastic in college basketball. The Big East, shout out Quinn. It's not been fantastic this year, but I think we're seeing with sports such as college basketball, we see the true effects of the transfer portal and of this whole NIL era and revenue sharing era, because these smaller teams, right, that, like, I mean, we saw, like, for example, Butler, right, 2010, 2011, they had a guy who was they had 2 future NBA players on those teams with Gordon Hayward and Sheldon Mack, and they had, like, this great talent, they had a great coach, and they retained that year after year because there wasn't any transfer portal, because guys would have to sit out a year, because there was an NIL so they could afford to keep up. Nowadays, a school like Butler, even though they're in the Big East, has no shot because Butler doesn't have a big enough alumni base, enough money to be pumping into this stuff. So Butler, even with a great coach like Thad Matta, who was the former Ohio State coach, who coached like Jared Sullinger, Greg Oden, Mike Conley, all those greats, Butler can't do anything because they can't keep up. Butler has a losing record this year. And that's what a lot of these small private Big Eastern schools that are like Catholic schools, they're smaller, they can't keep up with Texas, Alabama, even like Ohio State. They can't keep up with any of these big schools because they just don't have the money. And I think that's where I really see an issue with college sports, because, well, at the top, there's more parity now.
But at the middle to bottom,
once you get to I think even the bottom of the power conferences is such a step above everyone else now still. And that's an issue, because that wasn't the case before. Because we could see some of these Cinderella teams, there's not going to be a Cinderella like that in terms of college football anymore. College basketball, it's going to be hard to find, because I was looking today because I saw a post about Doug Eddard. You know who Doug Eddard is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously had that great run with St. Peter's, and he immediately transferred to Bryant. I saw a post today saying that he was still playing for Bryant, but he's not playing for Bryant anymore. He's graduated. So I had to double check that. And I go to Bryant's roster online. Over half their team was guys who transferred in, and they only have one guy, Topher, one guy who's not a freshman that hasn't transferred.
Oh, wow.
They have a singular sophomore who has been there for 2 years then. Everyone else in the roster is either a freshman or a transfer.
Oh, wow.
That's the reality of college sports these days. Sorry to get political on everyone here, but yeah. But college basketball, March Madness coming up soon. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. Got to get my algorithm going. Got to put some money down. I do, not you, because you can't, because you're an NCAA athlete, and I know you won't. But yeah.
Isn't the algorithm not really that hard? It's like it's 20 in offensive efficiency and or is it top 25 in offensive efficiency, top 40 in defensive efficiency, and they have to have been.
You're talking about
what?
You're not talking about my algorithm. My algorithm.
Well, you're clearly not using the one that works.
I haven't used it because I lost it because it was on an old device.
You actually have an algorithm?
I legitimately had an algorithm for one of my classes in high school.
Kind of crazy.
Stats. My cross country coach taught it. For March Madness, we had to make an algorithm for college basketball.
To predict
for March Madness. To predict like who's gonna win each game, we had to follow it, right? And so I used mine, and I won every bracket pool I was in that year. It was the year Virginia won all 2019. I think I was in the 100th percentile. I was like top 200 or something in the world.
Have you gotten access to that again?
The algorithm? No, because it was on my freaking school iPad, and I forgot to bring it over. I might have it on a paper somewhere, but I gotta figure it out because that's not going on up here anymore.
It's not up there anymore. That's kind of crazy.
No.
I don't know if you did. Maybe you have told me.
I probably have. I like to brag.
You do like to brag. All right. We got anything else?
Anything baseball-wise going on?
Baseball.
Besides the Dodgers signing everyone?
Yeah, and the Red Sox not signing anyone, but that's about it.
Yeah, small market team happens.
Classic. All right, my computer's really about to go, so I don't see myself moving. Thank you all for listening to this point. Have a wonderful week. We'll talk to you guys soon. Bye. Can you stop it? Stop!
Stop!
Oh my gosh.